All right, here we go. So I'd like us to start off and I already, made the mistake of trying to introduce our panelists without giving them the opportunity to say their own names and kind of tell their own story. So I want to start off with you, Santina. If you could just introduce yourself to the class, so, just tell us what your name and title is, the organization you work for, maybe a little bit about what your company does, and what your role is in the company, and maybe a little bit of a day in the life for you there.
All right. So my name is Santina. I am a senior mechanical engineer at Bloom Energy. What the company does is we are a fuel cell company based in San Jose. Our mission essentially is to provide clean, reliable energy to everyone, make it affordable. And we have a lot of projects associated to that. I think our biggest one would be the SOFC, the solid oxide fuel cell, which is the team that I work on that focuses on those products. And so I would say day to day, it's not routine at all. No day is the same. We could start at, spending a week in SolidWorks designing based on whatever regulatory requirements that we get. From there, we'll hold a lot of design reviews, get some feedback, pinpoint a design that we want to pursue, build prototypes, and I pretty much take the product all the way up until the point of where it just hits manufacturing. So I see a lot of testing phases. I, define the product requirements, and there's a lot to it. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, thank you for sharing all of that. Very exciting. Can you also just tell the class also what year did you graduate, and what was your major?
Gotcha. Yes, I graduated 2021 from Maritime, and I was an engineering major, mechanical engineering.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Uzoma, can you share about what you're doing and a little bit about your day-to-day where you are?
Only if I can keep my graduation date private. I feel old now. So,
it's out there already. We're just going to LinkedIn to look you up anyway, so you might as well.
No, absolutely. I'm happy to be here. Pleasure to meet you, Santina, as well. So I'm a co-owner of Eco Alpha Environmental Engineering Services. I started my own company with my wife 12 years, about 4 or 5 years ago. So we have offices in California, Chicago, Virginia, but we do work throughout the country. A few hundred employees strong at this point. We have 3 specific verticals: environmental engineering and training. Engineering being our largest vertical, obviously me being the Maritime Academy, that's where a lot of my competency lies. So, and what that means is really on the stationary engineering side. So everything that we do on the ships, people do in the buildings, and we hire the engineers to do that, take care of the HVAC, electrical, so on and so forth, capital projects, tenant improvements. And really for every type of facility. We started off very heavily in commercial office space, but now we're in data centers, hospitals, arenas, stadiums, museums, churches, pretty much any type of facility at this point we're in it. And for me, no 2 days are the same. If I'm interested to know when we get into it, if any who amongst you wants to kind of maybe go the entrepreneurial track and start your own thing, because it is worthwhile. It is a lot. You have to understand not only the operational aspects of your business, but you have to understand the finances, the taxes, the insurance, the liability, the customers, the clients, the marketing. So if you're willing to kind of take on that daunting task, it's very worthwhile. I'm here in Salt Lake City because we're actually doing a job walk with the clients today for the training vertical to talk about training their incumbent workforces, which is about, I think, 10,000 strong internationally. So we're here to understand the needs of the client and marry what we offer with what they need. So, and then on Wednesday, I'm in DC talking politics to kind of further the efforts of engineers, especially minority engineering business owners in the engineering space. So for me, no 2 days are the same, which makes it exciting and stressful at the same time, but that's kind of the balance that I like. And I'm just happy to see all the smiling faces in the audience. I was in your position at one time. And I remember somebody came back and talked to us and it had a really marked impact on me. So hopefully we can offer up anything that might be helpful and beneficial to you in your professional growth.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I mean, you both made it very clear that there's a lot of variety and versatility within your days and your work, and that seems to be something that's common. And you really, even though you're both, mechanical engineers, you're doing very different things in your roles. And so, as Dr. Syed talked about, we started the conversation with the students in this class around career exploration, partly because there's kind of an assumption that when you become if you major in mechanical engineering, then there's some linear path to what you're going to be doing. You've already started to kind of give us some different things to think about around that. But wanted to ask you, and maybe we'll start with you, Uzoma, this time, about what were some of the sort of the internal and external influences on your decision to even go into mechanical engineering, and in particular at Cal Maritime. And feel free to just talk about any of those influences, like the things about you, what you wanted to do, and also any of the family or cultural or generational financial, anything like that that might have influenced you on your your college choice, your major choice, and then kind of what happened from there.
Oh man, that's an unloaded question. I'll try to leave some on the table for other speaker to speak. But so that's interesting. So my dad was a civil engineer for Caltrans for 20 years. I always remember he always had a time to come drop lunch off or something like that. So I don't know why that stuck. That always because and it wasn't anything special. It was $1.99 McDonald's, but he had the time to come do it. So I was like, okay, what's he doing that he always has the extra time to come do it? So because time was always an important thing for me. And then I like to fix things. I like to be the understand the intricacies, and I think we all do if we're at or in or around the engineering school. We like to be the person with the answers. I'm a Star Trek nerd. I like Geordi LaForge. When Captain called back, who was the person that actually fixed the ship? It was Geordi. So he's a black engineer. I was like, okay, I'm sold right at that point. So that takes it. So and then with the Maritime Academy, it was the practicality of it. Very, very practical person, I think. To your point, why Santine and I have different tracks, but same kind of origins, if you will, same mechanics and materials classes, same this and that. It teaches you how to think logically, and you can take that anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in a boardroom, doesn't matter if you're sitting under an engine part. If you can think linearly and logically through anything, troubleshoot it, extrapolate it throughout the ways, come out with the, send stuff through kind of your own black box of logic and come out with a solution, you're going to do very well in whatever you do. So that's kind of my guiding principles. But and then the money's good, so you can make a lot of money, make a lot of money, have a lot of free time, and get to fix things. It was a pretty good trifecta for me.
All right, thank you. How about you, Santina? Your influences.
I will say that location and money were a huge factor as to why I went to Maritime. Born and raised in Fairfield, so I was, having to pay my way through college, so I needed something that was affordable, which that hit the criteria. And another thing that caught my attention was cruise, the mandatory cruise that you have to go on. I think your first year there. So it's like guaranteed 2 months experience. And honestly, that experience is what made me realize that, okay, I'm going the right path. This is actually what I want to do. I feel comfortable pursuing it. And the small classroom sizes. I originally wanted to go to Davis, which is the complete opposite of, the classroom sizes that you see at Maritime. To me, it was more personalized, and I like that. That's the environment that I needed.
All right. Thank you for sharing that. And I think, as we've heard from the career services side, that some of those elements that you all have described about Cal Maritime are some of the things that they appreciate, the students that and why they like to recruit here too. So, but when you started, Santina, here, you have those influences. So did you already have a preconceived notion of, what you could do with a mechanical engineering degree, or do you have an idea? And how closely was whatever your notion was at the time starting to reality?
Okay. I was a transfer student into Maritime Academy. I don't know how many people are transfer students into there, but I know at the time that I went there were 3 of us. So it was a very small number. So I did have some idea of what mechanical engineering had to offer because I spent like 4 years at DVC. So I got a lot of prep time there. I will say that what made me want to pursue engineering was an Audi commercial of all things. And it was a commercial of a car getting torn apart and then going back together. And I thought that was so crazy. Like, how does that go together? And then there's a black screen that says the truth of engineering. And so I was like, what is engineering? I want to get involved in this. So it all started with me wanting to be a design engineer for cars. And that's what led me to DVC to get my mechanical engineering degree to start with. And in that process, I remember specifically a chemistry class where we did a saltwater fuel cell. And so when I look back now, it's a little funny working at a fuel cell company because it caught my eye. I was like, why aren't we doing more with this? This is great. But I didn't really know how to get into that. So I stuck with the design route. And ultimately now being a mechanical engineer or a design engineer for a fuel cell company, I am somewhat close to what I originally wanted to do in terms of being a design engineer, just not related to cars anymore. To me, it's a lot bigger picture now, contributing to renewable energy. So.
Well, I know if Audi heard this, they would be very disappointed in missing out, but the clean energy world probably appreciates you are where you are now. Uzoma, so what about you? I mean, what was your notion of what you were going to do? I mean, you already knew right then and there you were going to be president of your own company, or where did you come in? What were your expectations? How closely did where you started, which is where a lot of our students are right now, and where you are today, what your career path led you to today?
It's funny you say that. And my path is actually akin to some. I was relating to some of the stuff that Santina was saying. So I didn't really a lot of money. I had to pay my way through maritime, even though it was relatively inexpensive at the time. So, president, all the fancy titles and everything. But at the end of the day, it's just hard work. It's just a lot of hard work. So, I'll give you an idea of kind of when she said fuel cells, and now she's doing that again. Whatever you're doing, and I would say take this to heart, at Maritime can be a microcosm of what you're going to do. When I was a student there, I didn't have any money. I had a car that could probably go 20 miles without overheating, but I started Okoro General Engineering Services when I was and Okoro General Services was tantamount to me, my red Honda Accord that could only probably fit 2 people and a ladder on top, and I'm driving around Vallejo holding the ladder down because I don't even have enough money for a strap. And I'm going around just fixing people's HVAC units. And mind you, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, right? So I'm going to Home Depot and asking the guys that work there, hey, what is this part? I'm going to the maintenance team on the campus and saying, what is this part? Oh, that's the thermostatic, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, and then I go back and I replace that first house. It comes on. This is actually a lot. I'm curving into an example, and then I'll end it with, I guess, the take home for me. I was so proud of myself when I got that first thermostat fixed. I linked up with a small property management company in Vallejo. They started giving me little jobs, fix this washing machine, fix that, fix that. And I was so proud when I fixed this one lady's thermostat. She's like, oh, I got heat again. It was the middle of summer, it was hot. Felt so proud. 2 days later, I got a call. Her AC never went off and she got a high bill. And I felt so bad about that, right? I ended up, paying for it to get fixed properly and doing all that, even as a student. But I think the thing with me is I was never afraid to make mistakes. And that's the one thing I see a lot of people, they're just so terrified to make mistakes. Don't be. Make as many as you smartly, right? But make as many as you possibly can. Do not be scared to try. At the end of the day, whatever you become in life is only going to be a function of the available options that you have. So say yes to everything, right? Within reason, right? say yes to everything that you have time for with work-life balance, because you can say no to anything at any step, beginning, middle, end. You can say no to anything, but you can only say yes to the things that the doors that are open, right? So open as many doors, try as many things. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, lose time, lose money, lose sleep. You'll be fine, but you'll learn a lot from it, and what you become will emerge kind of from those available options that you make available for yourself.
And I really think that's a powerful statement. I mean, what we're talking about right now is exploration. What is exploration if it's not, you know, trying things, exploring, not being afraid to try different things, and not knowing really what's going to be the outcome, but, you know, overcoming that fear of stepping out there and doing different things. And so just to kind of build on that, so Santina, were there other, you know, additional things, you know, side jobs or extra or activities outside of the classroom that you participated in while you were at Cal Maritime? And how do you think those activities or those experiences also kind of help position you for your readiness in the workplace, whether it was right when you started, or maybe it's something that didn't really dawn on you until later on in your career pathway? Anything like that?
Yes. So I was working as a part-time server for 10 years. So the whole time I was in college. And that was a great opportunity for me to work on my public speaking because I was not very good at it. That and being social. I get this a lot in, I would say, the very few interviews that I've had of like, oh, you're very social. You know, we don't get that a lot from engineers. And I thought it was an odd statement going to Maritime Academy because I feel like everyone there has a very, I don't know, a good personality. But I can see it now, why they say that. But that was a great experience for me personally to work on my public speaking. Any opportunity I get to present, I take it just because it is like my worst fear. So that's why I'm here today. And also another thing was the internship that I worked on. I actually got this internship at a company called FlowServe in Benicia. So it's 10 minutes away from Maritime Academy. I worked there. I got the job, I should say, just right after the cruise, getting back. So I worked there for 2 years through my whole time at Maritime Academy. And that was a great experience for me because I was able to go to school and they were willing to work with my schedule. I would say I worked anywhere from 20 to 30 hours a week with them. And it just, again, was a great opportunity for me to network and build these professional relationships with these engineers who I still talk to this very day. And it's just a great experience that I would recommend to anyone. I know my old boss, she constantly reaches out to me and asks if I know anyone from Maritime Academy who would like to internship there. But at the time, you know, everyone who I went to school with has graduated, has a job. So I was like, I'm sorry, I don't. So this could be a good opportunity, perhaps, for if anyone's interested.
Absolutely. So,
It's right on.
and I was going to even ask you if you could put us in contact so we can invite them and connect with them. And we appreciate you sharing that, and that was such a powerful experience for you. What about you, Uzoma? Were there, you know, any other activities that you participated in outside the classroom that you think were also contributed to your development or positioned you in ways that you didn't realize until maybe later on were really impactful?
A lot of jobs by virtue of need. So there was some programs on campus available for calling alumni for actually the calls that I get now that I think about it, that's funny, for alumni to donate. So I would be in the call center making those calls, and the campus had a program for that. I was a security guard at a tomato plant in Dixon. I used to get out the school, I think 3:30, go over there, be there by 4:30, be a security guard until about 10 o'clock, drive back, go and watch at midnight, get up 4 o'clock. So there was no sleep for a while. And the reality of life is I had a little girl when I was going to school too. Like she was in Sacramento and I was sending money back. So it was an interesting experience for me overall. But the community was, even now as a little bit older, I can see how I like Santina said, I talked to some of those guys, yesterday. Uh, and if they have jobs, we have jobs coming up. Hey, I need an engineer in San Francisco for this building. You got an engineer for that. That happens just naturally and organically. So you want to make all those connections well before you need them, and then everybody coming out of the same pedigree, it just kind of flows naturally for years.
Well, this is to me really inspirational. Well, the things you're talking about really paints a really holistic picture about your college experience really being more than just class, what's happening on, right? It's that intersection of these opportunities, the challenges that you had to overcome, and the persistence towards, realizing the goal of getting your degree. But to do that, you had to take on all these other, responsibilities so you could pay your way through, and you're meeting people on the way, and you're putting yourself in positions to be out there and talk to people and challenge yourself to and grow in ways that it's not even it's not typically thought of as an engineer's sort of wheelhouse, but it seems to have helped you get to where you are today and have success. What advice do you want to give to the students in this classroom about what they can do now while they're in college to really position themselves to, have that, for the career paths that they want? I know you've given kind of some insights, but, are there any particular skills or attributes that would give them, I would say, competitive advantage in the workplace, or, pursuing whatever pathway, whether it's to be a business owner or just find what they want? Because I think some of the fears and conversations we have is like being able to really do what feels right for you. Does either one of you want to jump on that one first?
I got a few thoughts, but I'll concede the floor to Santina if she wanted to.
No, I'll let you go first.
I was hoping she would take that. No, that's fine. Yeah. So I'll kind of gear everything through the entrepreneur route. If you're interested in that, I would say start now, and that's kind of got my um, philosophy, if you will, on everything is start now. You can start a microcosm of it now, and don't wait for perfect. Don't wait for money. Don't wait for motivation from somebody else. Don't wait for the okay from somebody else. Anything that stops with a third party, and that's another kind of philosophy of mine. I hate projects of mine that I need that can be stopped out with external forces. You got to have, we on the ship, we have a bunch of bypasses, right? You got to have a bypass. So I would say if you're trying to go the entrepreneur route, whatever that is, like I said, I was running around Vallejo fixing thermostats and heating flues and things like that. Start it tomorrow. Don't think yourself into inactivity, because you'll give yourself 1,000 reasons why not to do it. And I tell everybody, even in Montana, say, give me the one way it can work, not the 1,000 ways it can't. I can figure out the 1,000 ways it can't work by myself. Give me one way it can work. So when you go back to your dorm room, if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, give yourself the one way that it can work, even if there's a 1% chance. Don't worry about the 9,000 ways it can't work. It's not even within your power. And then this is something I learned a little bit later in life. I wish I had learned it. Somebody told me that is the unique factor is you. Keep your swagger, for lack of a better term. You wear a mask long enough, you forget who you are underneath it. So the unique aspect of your business or your life is going to be you. Don't run away from that and lean into it. Whether it's quirkiness, whether it's a pensions towards just the numbers, whether it's I'm a marketing person, and whether you're an introvert, extrovert, whatever that unique aspect of you is, bake it into your business and lean into it strongly, because it doesn't have to resonate with everybody, but it will resonate with the people that does resonate. It'll resonate fully, and they will become clients and customers and friends and colleagues, and you will not be drained trying to be a version of yourself that's not true to you. So I would say if you're going to start your business, start now when you leave this room. Start in 30 minutes whenever you leave it, and then and make it your own, make it uniquely you.
I appreciate that very much, and I just wanted to let the class know that this summer, Career Services had an intern who was our business and workforce development intern, and he actually cultivated a lot of entrepreneurship resources that we are going to have available in the Career Services. So if any of you want to go that route, we can already begin to connect you with some resources, and you have one right here already. What about you, Santina?
Yeah, those are some good ones. It's hard to top that. I will say that ask for opportunities. Worst thing that happens is someone says no. When I was a server, I met someone who owned a repair shop for cars. And so at the time, I wanted to be a car design engineer. And so I asked him if I could volunteer to see how they do the repair processes. And he was like, yeah, absolutely, come on down. So I did that for a few months. And the learning opportunity I got out of that was, just ask. And that's a common theme that I hear from some of the people that I work for. It's just that you just have to ask sometimes. And that could open some doors there. Another thing I would say is to enhance technical thinking. I know talking to my boss, because we hire interns every summer for 2 months. And so I asked him how the interview process went. And he said he asked one very common question, just wanting to see how people, the thought process that they had. And the question was, how would you build a door? And so people would automatically assume, okay, a door on a building or even at home has 2-3 hinges made of wood. That was the common conception that people would describe. And he was really hoping that people would ask, okay, what was the application of the door? Does it need to be watertight? What is the material it needed to be made of? Is it a car door, a house door? Is it a door going on a ship? Questions like that. That's what he was really looking for. And no one gave him that. So I would say that might give you the competitive edge if you could think critically about whatever they ask you and, ask them questions back about it. Some other ideas, soft skills, problem solving, communication, and adaptability is what I do on a day-to-day basis. I constantly get projects where I have no idea what it's about, but I have to learn it. So you need to adapt quickly and provide solutions. So that's where the problem solving comes in quickly, and communicating with people, finding the right people really to learn about what you need to know. So, and the last advice I would give is to take advantage of career counseling and the resume writing and the interview preparation with the resources that Maritime has. That was a huge part for me in landing my internship as well as my current role. So definitely take advantage of that.
Well, Daisy and I really appreciate that unsolicited advice. And we hope that everybody takes heed of that. And you really provided some, I think, some gems, some really helpful tips. And now I want to turn it over to the class and see if anybody has any questions for either one of you. I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask questions, anything at all. You just got the offer to ask questions about things.
Practice your communication.
Yes. All right. And go ahead and state your name and your year. So.
My name's Tyler. I graduated in 2026, so I'm a junior right now. Were you in any clubs here at Maritime? Were there any clubs that you participated in quite frequently?
I'll say that I was not. I was either at internship or working or with family. So unfortunately, I did not do any clubs at Maritime.
Yeah, I'd say the same. There weren't a lot of clubs for me. Yeah, between the work, the school, and the family. No, I didn't get a chance to do a lot of clubs. I would like to do you, especially I think the rowing club or something like that, but no, none for me.
On that note, you're obviously very active, and then there are students who maybe more of their activity is on campus through things like clubs. Do you have any suggestions? Do you think maybe you had some of your peers that were involved and, were able to get, what would be your recommendation for those that maybe aren't able to get out as much and maybe do, jobs and things like that? What are other maybe options to kind of gain some of the types of experiences that you all gained from the work that you did? Any ideas?
Yeah, that's a okay. That's a two-pronged question for me, and it kind of, I guess we can make this a little bit interactive at this point because it actually brings up something from the training aspect of our company. So if you guys will indulge me for a second, and it has to do with what Santina said. Can everybody in the classroom, if you will, indulge me just for a second, please raise your hand. Just everybody, everybody in the classroom, just raise your hand. All right, now please put your hand down. All right, now raise your hand as high as you can put it, as absolutely high as you can put it, while sitting in your chair. Like as high as of a stretch, as high as a stretch. All right. So the question is, why didn't you give 100% the first time? So you want to treat things like that. You want that, because the difference between that and where you had it, that is where that's where the growth occurs. And when she said ask questions, not one in this form, if you're being and you have a question in the back of your head, you don't know that question could lead to a contact. That contact might lead to an experience. That experience might lead to a transformative thing for your life. So you can't, nobody's telescope is that far. You can't see it, but if you raise your hand like that when you're supposed to do it, like ask questions when you're supposed to. So it doesn't. I wouldn't necessarily, for me, it wasn't what I engaged in. It was that I engaged in everything with my hand all the way up.
That's fantastic. I used to have a friend who used to say, "Put it in the universe," and that's kind of my version of what I think about to kind of get to that. Anybody have any other questions? Yes, I see a hand raised very high.
My name is Riju. I'm also graduating 2026. So you both are mechanical engineers and you've done your senior project. So what was that senior project, and were the skills you guys developed from it beneficial?
I talked a lot. I'll let Santina go first.
Okay. So my senior project was an autonomous sailboat. It was a mini one. It was a lot of fun, and my primary responsibility for it was the CAD work, which I think led me to my current position, because they were really interested in about that, of okay, what's your exposure to SolidWorks? And so I could say, oh, my senior project. And from that, they're like, how did you handle conflict? Because, we're not always going to agree on the same thing. And so how did you approach that? Yeah, the autonomous sailboat was, again, something new, something I had never done before. Had to learn about the hull and aerodynamics of it, and how to get the rudder connected to the ship without water getting into it. And so it was a lot of fun. And surprisingly, we finished it and it worked. So that was a huge bonus.
I got probably a story about my senior project. That is because Santina's boat was far more interesting than our project. So I'll give you a story and the lesson learned from the story, I guess. So like I said, I had a daughter when I first got to school. So by this time, senior year, she's probably 2 or 3. And I messed up with my team. I had a team, it was me, Jock, and Ivan. And it was a regenerative braking scooter. And between the work and going back and having to take care of a little one, I just didn't have time to contribute my weight. I did not pull my weight on that project, and I felt terrible about it. I felt absolutely terrible about it, because one thing with me is I keep my word. And these guys, I'm talking, those are 2 of the guys I talked to yesterday. They're some of my best friends. Jock is a Panamanian that's working in Chicago, and Ivan's all over the world working as an engineer. Both MEs are a lot smarter than I am, right? But I disappointed them on that occasion. They were pissed. They were pissed. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, and I didn't pull my share. And you will deal with that in life where you're dealing with competing interests. It's not because it wasn't laziness. It wasn't like, it was literally, I just didn't have the time. Then I had a project with my buddies, and I had to allocate time to one. And there's going to be competing priorities for your time, and they're both important. They're both needed to get done, and you're gonna, disappoint. So it's not always, we always talk about things. It's the other people making mistakes. It's the other people. Sometimes it's you, right? And how can you maintain relationships, personal and business, when you mess up, right? And you have to have a certain kind of honor about you and integrity. You got to go back and say, my bad, I'm sorry. And somebody got to say it more than once. And I'm giving you this as a lesson learned because it has helped me in business a lot. And sometimes it's not your fault, but it's the responsibility of the day. So you have to, I would say the lesson that I got from my senior project and not being able to carry my weight on it was to be honest about that when things like that happen, and try very hard to understand the other person's perspective and maintain the professional and business relationship, even when it gets bumpy and on the inside you're like, it's not my fault, so that's the lesson that I got from that, is to try to do that and try to think like that.
That's real. That's real. And I can say, certainty that those are experiences that you will have in the workplace, where when money is on the line and things like that. So I appreciate both of you, sharing those experiences. Any other questions? Oh, we got one over here.
My name's Justin. I'm a sophomore. I know, Santina, you were saying like thinking critically is a big one, a part of like your projects and everything. Is there any other aspects that you guys find is pretty beneficial or like nice to work with? I guess. Yeah.
All right.
You say
Sorry, I
that one
missed
more
that.
time, Lally? I didn't get it either.
Are there any other like aspects of your coworkers that you find is pretty common and it's pretty good to work with?
So sort of like skills and traits that are helpful, or that you want to see maybe out of new hire engineers.
And maybe working with the team.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll probably, if I could take a stab at that, the interplay of understanding, it's like understanding the ship system, right? Tracing systems. I kind of take that into account. Like even the meeting I'm going to in the 2 or 3 hours here, you got to understand human nature and the people around you. And what I mean by that is be observant, just like on a ship, just like a system, not to the things, not that you don't want, but be observant, not so much observant to the things that they want, that they say, but the things that they respond to. And you'll start to, it'll be like kind of looking into the matrix, like, because there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of fog here. So dealing with, I think, people is an important skill in everything we're gonna do. But I would say next time in your interactions with, people on the ship, people in class, your teachers, like kind of try to like look past what is being said, look past what they said they want, and look to what the stimuli that they're responding to, and you'll start to see people a little bit differently in some aspects. Just try it out as a test thing.
Yeah, it's a good one. Just because you're going to work with a lot of different personalities, and learning how to, I would say, read them and work with them is a good skill to have. Yeah, communication and along those lines, something that you learn to, I guess, address. I worked with a lot of different people who, like you said, different things make them, stimulate certain things in them, right? And how they respond to it. So yeah, I think you had a better answer, but yeah, I liked where you're headed with that.
I actually liked your first answer too. Santita's right. Yeah, like you get that a lot in the field. That people say, you're an engineer that can, carry on a conversation. So developing your communication skills, especially because we all come out with a certain level of, I think, technical acumen. But when you can get into those different rooms and either communicate or extrapolate information effectively, you'll be very effective.
Yes. One thing I wanted to add was being open to constructive criticism. I know being particular to design engineering, people, when you walk into a design review, you automatically want to defend your designs. And I've seen that. So just being open to what people have to say, taking that back. You may not always have to implement it, but just listening and being open to ideas.
Thank you. Anybody else have any more questions?
Chiron fam, graduating in 2028, so I'm a freshman now. So how did you guys make time for like yourselves? Because you guys were saying like your free time was dedicated to like your jobs and other priorities. How did you find time for yourself and like some of your school duties? Because you guys said you would get off school and then go straight to work. Like, where's the time for homework? Where's the time just to hang out or just even to sleep?
Mine is short, so I like to take my butt whoopings in short, condensed, rather than drawing them out. I'd rather go 100%. Again, that example for an hour on something than 60% for the week. So and then also I think for me, this may not be the recipe for everybody. You got to make peace at certain times in your life when you're not going to have free time. For me, that was the honest truth. Like I'm not gonna have much sleep. I'm not gonna have free time for the next 6 months or the next 8 months. And you go into those tunnel vision whirlwinds. You're gonna, yeah. So it's a time management thing. But I think for me, it was making peace with the fact that okay, this next 6 months is gonna suck, and I'm just okay with that, and being honest and real with that. And that was, again, it may not be the recipe for everybody, but that was what it was for me.
Yeah, like what you said about time management, that's ultimately what it comes down to. And sometimes there is no time left over to do what you want to do. For me personally, there were certain days that I was not willing to work for, whether it be the internship or for serving, because I needed to dedicate that to just schoolwork. So that's what worked for me. And then, my best friend at the time, she was also going to school. And so that was kind of our social time, really, when we would get together and do homework together, say at like a coffee shop. That was just what worked for us. And so again, time management.
But I will answer one thing, right? And then again, I'm gonna skew this to the entrepreneur, right? I got all the time back with interest, and it was in that little wooden tomato plant security guard shed in Dixon with the spiders crawling down my neck and the physics book in front of me and all of that. Well, I made promises to myself about the time I was going to get back. And then I block out time now. So as much as I was like, okay, that's 6 months during school or whatever it's going to be. Right now, I don't schedule, for me as a professional, I don't schedule any meetings between 8 and 10. That's my time. Okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You can't get hold of me until 10 o'clock. So I kind of rewarded myself with time back, if you will. The only reason I'm on this call is because I really like the Maritime Academy. I really like you. I want to be here. But so I wanted to give you the silver lining on that comment is that you can, that door swings both ways and it can swing to your advantage once you're on the other side of certain hills.
Thank you. More questions? Oh, it looks like we're out of time. I wish we could keep going, but just the last thing I just want to ask is each of you, if any of the students in the class want to connect with you, either about your companies, internship opportunities, or just get more insights, how could they reach out? What's the best way to do that?
I'm old, so I don't have much social media to speak of. My company does. So you can, if you look up Eco Alpha, ECOALPHA, there's probably half a dozen ways to get in touch with our company and by me, Virtue. But my Stephanie has my direct email, which is, I'll share it with you guys now. It's uzoma@eco-alpha.com. That's ECO-ALPHA.com. And happy to help in any way I can.
Thank you.
Yeah, for me, it'd be LinkedIn, or honestly, I'm more responsive on email, which I believe you guys have. I think Professor Sai has it. So that'd be the best way to reach me.
Well, thank you so much again. taking time out of your day and just thank you for all that you do for the students, and we will be in touch.
Yeah,
Been
thank
a
you both.
pleasure, been an
Yeah,
honor.
thank you.
meeting
Yeah.
you all. Thank you, everybody. You guys have a great day, all right?
Take care.
All right, take care.